that human piece is going to be like a differentiator. And that human connection is never going away, which I guess is why I'm not really concerned about my role personally, like being replaced or whatever, kind of common misconceptions. But I think the ability to make sure that we are still connecting with members is just going to be more important than ever.
AI isn't the future, it's now. And whether you're in HR, sales, operations, or leadership, the choices you make today will determine whether you thrive or get left behind.
Our guest today is Ann Gary, someone who brings heart, honesty, and a grounded perspective to every conversation. She's not here as an AI expert, though, y'all. She is here as a human being asking the same questions that so many of us are. What does it all mean for me, for my work, and for our collective future? So let's go ahead and dive into it. And welcome. You are in healthcare. Tell me a little bit more about you and what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I guess I would say, too, that I'm excited because to be here, I am in healthcare. I am not an AI expert by any stretch, as you mentioned, but I think that's what's so cool about the space is like there's room for everyone to be taking place in the conversation, and it applies to all sectors and all industries. And so I think maybe some of the conversations that you've had on previously might be a little bit different, right? But each lens, I think, is something we can all learn from and hopefully be a space where people feel like they can jump into the conversation to wherever their knowledge or experience kind of takes them. So as you mentioned, I'm in healthcare. I have been for about 8 years in the payer space. So a large insurer in the state, one of the largest. And I specifically work with our Medicare members. So working on member engagement, education, and a lot of my work is face-to-face with our members, also with prospects, but not as much in the prospect space, but really helping our members understand their plans, understand their benefits, helping them navigate a really complex system. I think our healthcare system as a whole is obviously very complex, but Medicare specifically. And I'm working with an audience that what I think I love about this audience is it's a wide range of folks who are pretty tech savvy, right? Some are very into the fitness app that we have and very wanting to track their doctor's appointments and earn rewards for that. And then some don't want anything to do with that. They just want to talk to a person. They want to have me coordinate their care management with our case managers directly. So it's a cool spectrum of folks who are adopting some technology and some who are not. And so all along the way, my role is to ensure that they're understanding their benefits and ultimately making healthier decisions. So
I will say as a HR professional, the most questions that I get are around benefits. And then secondly, around that age when people start to become eligible and they're like, what does this mean? What am I supposed to do? Where do I go? And they are so just overwhelmed by the amount of things they need to do and know. So I love that you're in this space and helping them. How are you envisioning AI helping or maybe even hurting, right, that population when it comes time to understand?
Yeah, I think a little of both. I don't think in the hurting sense that I'm not personally afraid of it. I don't think that it's going to replace me personally. What I am concerned about, I would say, for our member population specifically is some of the kind of ill-intended things around AI. We have a program called Member Ambassadors. They are current MA members, so Medicare Advantage members, but they are also part-time employees. And so their job is to go to community events, support our sales team, et cetera, and be basically a walking testimony of the plan. So they're essentially engaging with their peers and saying, hey, I've been on Medicare for 2 years and this is my experience. Or, yes, I needed to use that supplemental benefit after I got discharged from the hospital and here's how that worked. So they are a face-to-face walking testimony for the plan. And they even came to us and said, hey, a lot of us are getting these calls. We're not sure if they're AI calls. We're not sure, like, especially around the time of open enrollment, are we getting scammed? So I think this population has a lot of questions around, am I getting scammed? Is someone trying to, like, get my information? So I think it'll be critical in my role to be that person who has a good understanding and is able to say to them, like, what is true, what is not, how to navigate that a little bit. So I think they'll be looking to people at the plan who are experts enough to, like, walk them through maybe what are some of the upsides and then what are some things to kind of steer clear of.
Right. Because again, AI does not know your preferences. And when it comes to your healthcare, there are a lot of preferences that go into that. So that was an incredible answer. But in your work, right, with all of this face-to-face that you have with people, especially with what you do being so personal, healthcare, how do you see human connection evolving as AI starts to play a bigger role?
I would say it's, I guess, kind of two angles for that. Me, like, professionally, and then as I think about my work with our members, is it's more important than ever. And I think from a kind of professional standpoint that you need to be more confident and more able to articulate, like, what you bring to the marketplace and what your role is than ever before. Because I think that human piece is going to be, like, a differentiator. And that human connection is never going away, which I guess is why I'm not really concerned about my role personally, like, being replaced or whatever, kind of common misconceptions. But I think the ability to make sure that we are still connecting with members is just going to be more important than ever. I think, though, there are going to be ways that we can definitely make that more efficient, and some other systems I think that could probably improve. But that face-to-face human connection is I would say never going away.
Yeah. What about any kind of, like, concerns that you have for Medicare eligible communities when it comes to misinformation? We all know that there are the black boxes. There's just totally wrong information, things that aren't even true. And then we have a community of people who I would say many are in a vulnerable state, right? And they're trying to figure it out, and they are just assuming what they are getting back is true. How do we protect these people without overwhelming them or completely scaring them away?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a need for education. Right now, a lot of the education I do is specific to their plans and their benefits. I think there's going to be a need for education around AI as a whole, which means going out into our communities. We are very county-based, and so it's kind of like a ground game that can be a little bit of a slog. It can be a little bit time-consuming, but I do think it's going to be, like, probably programming specifically around AI and getting into these communities, getting into these, like, pockets of whether it's, like, communities 55 plus where you have a lot of older adults kind of living together, socializing together, sharing information together. But I think we are going to have to probably develop some education where we are going out into our communities and really, like, getting face to face with members and prospects and telling them about what is true, what is not, how to identify what is not, and things like that. So
that's what I find to be the biggest thing when it comes to healthcare. And I've got a lot of aging parents and parent-in-laws, and they'll come back with whatever their ailment is, and they'll show me something. And I remember just the other day, I was, like, looking at this thing, and my family member was telling me they were going to invest maybe a couple $1,000s because it wasn't covered by insurance. And I'm flipping through this book that this person had given her, and it's like Wikipedia citations. It's no real research. And I was like, what makes this credible? But so it's not knowing how to differentiate between what's real and what's not. So I love that you include that in there. It's not just how do we use the tool, but how do we differentiate the information it's giving us back.
I think the education piece too. I didn't mean to cut you off, but the education piece is critical, right? Part of the reason why we started this show, and we call it AI Voice of Victim, there's going to be so many people that are uneducated as it relates to what is true, what is misinformation, what is a deep fake, right? And I was, seriously and jokingly, I tell people all the time, from a cold email perspective, there's two forms, there's scam and spam, right? and trying to differentiate. But what is different is something, your own newsletter, your own community, your own kind of interactions, right? But it starts with education and the literacy because people don't understand. The analogy I use nowadays is that it's more like learning to type back in the day when folks used to have to learn to type. Using AI was like learning to type. And the reason why I say that is going to be a part of every product, every solution going forward, right? It doesn't matter if you're in healthcare or if you're in retail, it doesn't matter what apps are coming out or what products, they're all going to have some level of AI embedded. And if you don't understand how to type or communicate with the machine or understand what a hallucination actually looks like or how to validate, right? How to cite, to Erica's point, where this is actually coming from, you're just going to be at a disadvantage. And it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your demographic. I have friends, I have folks that are younger than me that will send me stuff and I can tell right away. I was like, hey man, I don't think that's real. Right?
Yeah.
This 7'4" football player that's 300 pounds and 3% body fat doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
Well, let me just, and his name was La Pancake.
But
La Pancake.
But like that's because you feel confident in knowing.
Exactly.
So if you take someone who's maybe unsure about a complex medical system or they're unsure about if they qualify for Medicare, if they're unsure about seeing a certain provider, then all of a sudden it's a little harder to maybe
100%.
say, hey, that's fake. So I think like I'm viewing my role a lot as educating our members almost in like a teacher role. I've never thought of myself as a teacher, right? But they have to have a good understanding and a good knowledge, and also knowing at the end of the day, like call our customer service team if you really have a question. But they, educating, and then to be able to do that, I have to have a good understanding, which is sort of where I am, right? In this place where I feel like I've dipped my toe in, but I'm not an expert. And now I'm going to have to like quickly kind of run to catch up to be able to educate others. So that's where I feel like I'm sort of in this like gray spot here. But
very interesting. I love talking to non-techie people about AI because I'm also a non-techie person. I joke about this all the time. So I want to know, did you start noticing it more in your personal life or your professional life first?
Probably personal.
And in what way?
I think mostly just in like various friends who were dabbling and trying things out. My husband's very into just like trying out new things, and he'll play around with things just to see how they go. And I think for a little while I thought, well, I'm not on the IT team, so that doesn't really apply to me. That's no longer that's not going to work any longer. But yeah, probably mostly personal, just kind of poking around, seeing what there was to do. And now it's definitely morphed into like a little bit of both.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, I was going to simply say, though, one of the things you called out, and I see this a lot, is that people will trust someone else that they trust, right? And so someone that you trust introduced this to you, so there was a safe zone for you, right? And then because you're using it more in your personal life, I just put a post out yesterday. We were talking about how we are doing adoption here at Walk West. And we always say we do three things: to make it personal, make it fun, make it safe, right? And sometimes in your own environment or at home, that's where it's most easily personal, fun, and safe. Now we have to flip that and like, how do we bring that into, to your company, into your organization, to your team, your AI council, whatever. The one thing I just wanted to take a quick step back was you said something a second ago, which is AI doesn't necessarily have to replace you because you know all the expertise around Medicaid, Medicare, it's way easier to take someone that knows their craft or their skill and apply some AI literacy than it is to take an AI expert, drop them into something that they do not know or understand, right? I do not know or understand. I don't understand the difference between Medicaid, Medicare, all of these things. I don't understand. You can ask Erica. I used to prompt her. And I would ask her, I was like, hey, how do I sign up for this? How do I change my daughter's, date of birth is not correct. What do I do? Like all the panic, So anyway, I just wanted to call it out.
No, I love that. But I wanted to go more into your personal realm, where you start experimenting, when you started branching out, when you started going deeper. And then what do you think your next steps are going to be?
Ooh.
I know. I'm making you plan this out. I'll tell you while you think real quick, because when I think back on my AI journey, I ignored it for a while. Just like I thought I wasn't like, I don't know how to apply this in my real life. Like, I don't know that I'm really going to do it. But because I roll with a lot of people who are very ambitious, they really told me, and this is that trust who you trust thing, that like, Erica, this is going to be how you save a lot of time. And as soon as I started recognizing that and playing with it more, I really started using it in my business ever before I started using it for more personal reasons. But that was my journey.
Yeah. I mean, it's so appealing to think, right? Like, can I be 20% more productive? Who doesn't want that? Well, no one I roll with does,
Right.
So I think almost how can you ignore that when you look at some of that? I guess where I struggle a little is, especially in our workplace, like member data, claims data, things like that is so highly protected and needs to be so secure that I don't feel like there's a lot of space for me to sort of take a lot of risks or make mistakes. Like I cannot make a mistake with member data. I just can't. But I do like to see if I'm like rolling out a new program or if I am, pitching a new program that I think will be beneficial for our members, how can I get that done basically in 2 days, whereas before it might have taken me like a week. Now, that's not to say I don't have to still go through the steps of like talking to other stakeholders, getting buy-in, having those conversations that can't be replaced. But I think some of that other work that can get like a program to launch could be done in like a quarter of the time.
Absolutely.
We tell people all the time, I mean, it is very credible to see 20 to 40% productivity gains in almost any knowledge work position that you're in, right? And I think part of the challenge is people have not there's been people through software automation and other things trying to, outline productivity gains, and it was never credible, right? And so now you have this thing that seems like a black box. It seems like this invisible hand, and people are credibly saying it's going to make them more productive. But then they're saying, wait, if I'm that much more productive, will this replace me, right? And that becomes that kind of chicken and egg and that kind of challenge. The other thing I would say is that one of the things that's very interesting to me was I am 100% for, securing and, being safe around data, PII or HIPAA, all the different types of data. What is interesting to me is that you're starting to see healthcare companies and others actually using AI to validate and go behind the human, because the people I'll say the quiet part out loud is humans mess up more than AI a lot of times, right? It's just we have a higher bar for technology than we do for humans, right?
Yeah,
and
like
so that's
a human error is okay. That was a mistake. A technology error is like, something didn't work.
But to the person on the other end, there is no difference, right? To me, if you told me that I lost my healthcare because it was a human versus a machine, I don't give two shits.
Yeah.
Like
you
the outcome was
result,
the outcome,
right,
the result.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of most businesses, no matter what organizations, whether you're a member or you're a customer, a client, a partner. The reality is the outcome is what, the consumer is expecting.
Yeah.
And so that's the fine line that people are going to have to balance, right? How do we get to that outcome or not?
Can I get on my soapbox for a minute?
Soapbox time. Is this a new section? Are we doing a new segment here?
Erica's soapbox? Is that what it's called?
Erica's
Erica's soapbox. So on LinkedIn today, there was a post from a very powerful woman who was the founder of a company, and she had posted some, I'll call it like hashtag AI hate, right? About how it doesn't create original copyright anymore. And that she gave it all sorts of parameters, like don't do if this, then that, and like don't list it in 3 bullets, and basically in an attempt to break the system. You know what I mean? And so AI was messing up or not giving her the exact output that she wanted. And so she writes this post and is basically like, this is why AI sucks. But my problem with this is then everyone else jumps on that bandwagon to be like, oh yeah, it's terrible. So I got in there and I commented and I just said, yeah, sometimes it messes up and it's not perfect, but like neither are we. And we still have to read it. We still need to make it in our voice because there is no technology that will ever be able to replicate your unique voice and perspective. And, like we have to accept that that's what it is and stopped expecting this machine to have the most highest standards at all times. And I can't tell you how many private DMs I got just in the last couple of hours of people saying thank you for being positive on that post and for saying that because I
wonder what was the point of her just trying to say
probably
like,
the bottom is just if you want to buy my AI literacy services, click here.
Like I think it was just a moment of frustration, honestly. I think someone took to social media in a moment of frustration. Obviously, you'll be able to go to my LinkedIn and figure all this out. But what it does is it then creates, of course, that negativity spiral where everybody jumps on and it blows that one maybe mistake up.
Hell, I don't know about it. I don't have the time to be trying to make it give me the wrong I'm using it for the opposite. I'm not spending my time making it.
But here's the thing, too, is so after I commented on that, I was reading through some more of her comments that she had replied back to other people on. And so many of them were like, oh, well, I love using it for ideation and I love using it for critical thinking and, helping me work through complex problems. And I thought, okay, so in the exact same post, you're talking about how amazing it is for other things. That is exactly how humans are. Yeah. Nobody is going to come to me and ask me to design the perfect pivot table in Excel because that will take me hours, but they will come to me with a people problem that I can solve in minutes. You've got to use it for what it's capable of at this point in time. And so this is kind of like my voice or victim thing where we're at a time where it's so easy to sway people one or the other because there are people who are very scared and people who are very hopeful.
If that was the first time someone maybe they've used AI one time or something, and that's the first thing they see.
It's going to confirm. It's going to confirm to me that AI is useless. I should not use it for
this bias that they already had that is then confirmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you start to live in that echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
And you create that safe space. I used to tell Eric, I said, all these AI gotcha folks, AI is going to get you. I was like, if you spend all your time trying to figure out what it can't do, right, you're going to find out. And I think what it does, to your point, right, it just creates that echo chamber and these people are willingly going to walk off a cliff.
Yeah.
Right. And I always use the same hyperbole. And I say, look, you're not going to stop AI and it's always going to keep advancing. I said, you have a better chance in reaching into the sky and turning the sun off. I said, if you believe you can do that, then sure. I said, but we need to understand how to type, talk to the machine.
Yeah.
Right. It's the human machine collaboration. It doesn't matter. It didn't get that thing right or whatever. I always tell people, Eric and I were talking about something a while ago. And I said, I guarantee you I could go trace back where, I think it was something about Africa. I can't remember something. Something came up and it cited something and you're like, this company.
This was when I was comparing and contrasting a local Raleigh client with another U.S. client, and it stood my client out as having the unique value proposition. She had a large base in West Africa. So obviously, I know that is not true, and that's what I was sharing with you.
Yeah, so the outcome was not true, but what I was saying was I bet you I could trace back the origin as to how it got there. Right?
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes it's on us, right? Sometimes I'm reminded, and now especially with ChatGPT and others having this memory function, right? Yeah. It'll remind me of something I said and did, right? But I forgot about it. It was months ago. But then it just injects it into the thing and you're like, oh, that's not right. And it was like, well, you told me this 3 months ago, Greg.
Yeah.
Like, you the one that didn't get it right.
We're very quick to paint that picture differently in the, rewrite history.
We always say AI will reveal you, right? And that's one of those things, so.
Revisionist history a little bit, yeah.
So
100%.
You've talked about using ChatGPT. Do you use any other AI tools right now?
I don't, but I should be. That's sort of where I am. I think this feeling of like a little behind. Like Copilot, nothing like so
all the foundational pieces.
Yeah, basically very
right. But that's the point that when I say typing, right? How you communicate with all of these tools and the ones to come out are going to be the same way. Right. And so, and I tell people, you're not alone, right? There's a lot of folks. I know folks that call themselves AI experts that don't know half the tools that we use to do work every day. And I'm just like, hey, man, so you're an expert at that one thing, that one tool, right? Versus be more of an expert in how to communicate with the machine. Because we use tools for like GenSpark and Gamma for producing, these beautiful decks and presentations. We may use, I use Suno to make music. We'll use Gemini for a lot of different things. I do a lot of deep research, right? VO3, Gemini for video. There's just so many tools.
Yeah.
But the fundamental way you communicate is the same across all of them. And that's why I use the analogy of typing. It's not any different. You're just going to tell it what you want. Use Lovable or Hugging Face or whatever to create web apps. So there's just a lot you can do.
Yeah.
And I would say too, like as a little user tip for our listeners here, like if you're not sure what your tech stack should be, start thinking about like, what are the problems I need to solve? Because let's be clear, like he just named a ton of different things. Some people might hear that and think, oh my God, I've got to run out and learn all these. I have never and do not plan on logging into Suno right now. I'm not trying to make some songs. I'm not trying to play around with making music, okay? I got 2 little kids at home. They make plenty of noise. So don't worry about it, right? So think about the problems you want to solve. So for me, I do a lot of deep research for podcasting and for different articles that I write. So tools like Perplexity or the deep research in any of the big AI models would suffice.
Yeah.
I also find note takers to be extremely helpful when I am having meetings on Zoom or even in person because it captures more information than I can write down. And then it translates it very quickly into like, hey, here are the action items that need to come out. Here's who's doing what. So that works well for me. And then I like to use ChatGPT for the copywriting that very person was hating on. Anyways, but like that's what works for me. I know there's so many others out there that I could explore, could dip my toe in, but I also feel like I kind of want to just be patient a little bit, see how it plays out, see how it kind of evolves, and then take the next step when some of my subscriptions run out.
Yeah, we're in an era of taste and trust right now.
Yeah,
right?
and I think
that's what it comes down to.
I think there needs to be more acceptance of that. Like, it doesn't need to be I'm an AI expert, or I'm not. Right? I don't know. I think that's a disservice to everyone. And for me to have like shied away from this conversation because I'm not an expert doesn't mean that I like don't bring value to the conversation. I probably bring clearly a different level of expertise, but I think there needs to be more space for the person who's like, I'm not really sure, but I'm open to it. And I'm not going to shy away. Like, if anything, I'm hoping that if we talked again in 6 months, I'm in a completely different place.
Well, let's make a plan.
You know?
Let's make a plan.
We could do a little,
to
this
catch
is our
up
baseline. And then,
in 6 months and see where you're at. But I think these types of conversations are so critical because there are very much people that kind of split it into I'm techie or not techie, which means I should invest in AI or not. And especially women. Especially women
saying like, I don't feel like I can have that conversation. I don't belong in that room. I don't belong in that space. I don't this, that, and the other. And you've self-eliminated before you've even started to learn. And like, I can't get down with that, you know?
I'm very passionate about this, obviously, because my mission is to get more women into positions of power and keep them there. And the studies are showing that women are not leaning in at the same rates of AI.
Yeah.
There are plenty of women out there who are interested, but as a whole, they're not leaning in. And so for me, it's very personal because this is the wave of the future.
Yeah.
People who know AI and understand how to use it in their professional lives are going to be the people who can climb up the ladder, who can make more money. If we, women, don't lean into that, we're only going to perpetuate the pay gap, the leadership gap, the confidence gap, whatever other gap exists. Probably the AI gap is what we're going to start calling it.
And at what point would you say like, okay, I'm confident enough to go on that podcast, or I'm confident enough to have, you know what I mean? Like you would never feel ready, or you would never feel like you have enough expertise.
And it's so rapidly changing, really nobody can at this point, right? Yeah. Like we are all just
for
swimming with
say, like,
people say they're a Gen AI expert. I'm like, okay, really
maybe
it's
you were
only been out
yesterday.
3 years.
Like,
but
yeah.
I think we're going to rapidly get to a point though, and even when, Erica brought up the note-taking, I completely forget at this point that it is based on AI. Because AI is a general purpose technology like electricity, right? We don't come into these rooms and say, watch me use electricity today. I am going to be, I'm an electricity expert. You see how I turn that switch on?
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be the same thing with these tools. It's just a part of how software and technology and how we communicate in the future with every single product. I don't know if it was Hasbro or one of the toys makers recently were talking about using AI and embedding it. I'm a little bit scared of that. I know my son has a Pictionary game that's AI. Basically the kids have to, try to get the AI to decide what they just drew or what they just made.
Oh, so
right?
It's like a little friend, but not a real friend kind of thing.
Well, that's where I think the danger starts to come in, right? With some of these companions, right? It may be a fine thing to have an AI companion if you're of a certain age or of a certain demographic.
Yes.
But then when you start to remove the creativity that children all have to learn and get to, like we always talk about the 5 C's of humanity that AI will never replace, right? Creativity, critical thinking, curiosity, communication, and collaboration, right? If you kind of hone your human experience on those 5 C's, those are the things that don't get replaced, right? But if your job is solely to just process data and not think through anything, right? That is ripe for, to be replaced. But hopefully the idea then is become more of a craftsman, become more of that face-to-face. One of the things I jotted down as you were talking was, you were talking about communities and face-to-face. I'm like, man, that seems like such a challenge to scale, right?
Yeah.
Over
Which is
time.
sort of where I am in a lot of my programs right now. Like,
right. But AI can
how
be
do I scale
personalized.
this? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way that we've never been able to. One of the big advantages is hyper-personalization at scale. People have been talking about it for a long time, right? But now you can literally have a one-for-one. And as much as Erica doesn't want to use Suno or others, you can also meet them where they are, right? Or help them learn the way they want to learn. You can create interactive experiences. Hell, we can make a song about benefits, right? There's so many different ways you can educate someone versus telling them, like if I told my dad to go log on, first of all, he don't know how to get in his own email.
Yeah.
He's never written an email. He's a retired truck driver. Love my dad, but he does not use technology like that, right? So the idea, and people are like, oh, just go into your My Chart for this thing or just do that. He's like, you know what he does? He calls me.
Yeah.
He prompts me.
Yeah.
He's like, can you open this? Can you tell me what I need to do?
And you probably can't because it's not going to authenticate you because
Correct.
you're not him.
I was like, man, know, so but anyway, sorry, I went on a rant here.
Yeah. But, I think too, especially like the pressures that the whole healthcare industry is facing with costs. And I am not in a place where I would love to just go say, I want a team of 10 people so that we can go out into all of our 100 counties across the state and I can reach people where they are. Because like from mountains to coast, it is a lot of work to meet North Carolinians where they are. And it's not going to work to say I want a team of 10, 20 people, So I'm going to have to find tools that are going to be able to like not lose the personalization and still kind of accomplish that like engagement education, even if it's that there's some sort of, maybe the first touch point is some sort of like machine, tool, whatever. It's then followed up by like an in-person interaction, some sort of like complement, like, but yeah, it's not going to be able to like, hey, let's go do 100 events every fall in all 100 counties. It's just not going to work. So we're going to have to find ways to
and here's what I know, and at least what I hope, is that there are already teams internally that are starting to think through some of these problems and trying to think about how can we do this at scale. Because you're right, there's a lot of, people in the mountains and in these tiny, small counties that nobody drives through. It has one stop sign.
A lot of people in our state don't even have Wi-Fi.
Right.
Which probably sounds crazy, but when you go to these places and you're at this local community center and you're meeting our members face to face and they say the only way they heard about an event was the postcard we mailed them.
Right.
That's real life.
Like, oh, this is where we are with these people, So we also have to adapt the way that we engage based on our population. And so that's kind of another layer to it.
And if you had a better understanding of who are the ones that actually needed the postcard and who are the ones that don't, then you can create that face-to-face community, and that's where the hyper-personalization comes in, right? You can meet me where I am because I guarantee you it's not going to be the overwhelming majority of folks.
But it's enough that matters.
But it's enough, exactly. Yeah. And then you're spreading those same resources across folks like myself that would much rather have something through an app or much rather get an email than for you to send something that I then feel like I have to now throw away or recycle.
You're probably like, why'd they spend money on this mailer? And it is an expensive marketing tactic. It's super expensive to mail things. But for the people who don't have internet and did not hear about it otherwise, there was like 5 or 6 women at this one event in Hickory. And I know that sounds like such a... Hickory.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I know that sounds like such a small number of people, but they were... it's just like they're so grateful that we're showing up in their communities and we're explaining things to them. And we have like customer service, case management, pharmacy, like these experts who really care about them. I'm bringing all of these people to this place and they're so grateful. And I'm like, how'd you hear about us? And she's like, oh, we had the postcard. I got the postcard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, so
the postcard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which you think's like this archaic tactic, but
it works.
Yeah.
But it's that face-to-face. I tell people, not necessarily in healthcare, but we're in a time now that I think people are going to be craving more, IRL. People are these conferences I go to now are just booming. Yeah. Right. People want to be, it started with the pandemic or coming out of the pandemic, right? Now with AI. And so people are like, I only trust the thing that I can touch and see, right? Versus, what came through my screen, because the level of deep fakes, the level of, I was at a healthcare event, several months back, and they showed Josh Stein doing a deep fake video, but it's about being careful about seeing deep fakes during an election year. But the whole video was a deep fake. And I think it was made with HeyGen, 11 Labs, and some other stuff, right? But the whole point is, I realized when I was looking around that audience, there was mostly, most of the folks were, 55 to 65 in age. I realized just looking on their face, this is the first time they realized, like, wait, what have I been liking? Yeah. What have I been replying to? I didn't know you could do things. And this was 2023, right? And so the advancements are only going to, it's only going to get more dangerous and more scary and more misinformation. So we need great humans like yourself that are out there educating people from a non-technical perspective.
That was depressing. I'm ready to have a little fun.
Okay.
So, flash round.
This is why I wear gray, where she wears all the fun colors.
I'm the bright.
We do have quite the contrast down here.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Anne.
Okay.
This is flash round. So I'm going to ask you questions. You're just going to answer them. Real rapid, real fast gut reactions. Should people be able to use AI for their resumes? In totality.
Resume writing, yes, but be able to back it up with the actual experience.
Oh, I love that answer.
Good. All right. Should you tell your boss if you are using AI to write your emails?
No.
Greg, should you tell your chief people officer if you're using AI to write your emails to her?
No.
Just...
You should assume that I did not.
Just wanted
and I'm
to
likely just going to call you anyway.
All right. Anne, are we
using... you're one of those, huh?
He does. He got me on speed dial. Anne, do you want to use AI as your therapist?
No.
Greg, should we use AI as a therapist?
I think if it gives greater access to rural communities that don't have access, then as a starting point, I do believe there's value.
Or to someone who might not otherwise pursue support that they need. Yes, but for me personally, I need a person. I'm not opposed to it as a tool or as a service. I think there are benefits for me personally. That's a no.
Amazing. Anne, what's the first thing you're going to do with AI when you walk out of this room?
Oh man.
Make a song.
I'm going to search. I'm going to make a song. I'm going to search, how far behind am I? How quickly can I catch up to better have a conversation with Greg and Erica about AI?
And then she's going to ask it to be her therapist to help her walk through that.
But hold on to that point. Like, that's one of those misconceptions also, is that you're far behind. You're actually way ahead. And I travel all over the country talking to people about that. When you think about the dynamic, right, from postcard showing up to people have this false sense that everybody's using this and everybody's doing it. No, they're not. It's true. Like 5% like adoption right now.
Really?
Yeah, because we're in these bubbles, right? And the bubbles are bigger. As someone I was listening to a podcast, and they say you can always tell the vibe of a city based on its billboards. So if you go into San Francisco or Austin, Texas, there's AI billboards all over the place.
Huh. Okay.
I don't think I've seen one in Raleigh yet.
Which is kind of surprising, right?
No, but it tells you the vibe. It tells you how people are actually thinking about these things. If you go to New York or go to Boston or go to other major cities, right? We're naming, these coastal kind of elite cities. But what about the rest of the country?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like less than 5% adoption right now. And so I'm saying this because I want to say it out loud because people feel like they're way behind.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've been using it, I know I've known you for a while now, and we've been talking about it for several months. You're ahead of a lot of folks. I know a lot of folks say, I'm going to get to that in 2026. I'm like, ugh, good luck.
But also I'll validate those feelings because I always feel behind, and I have certifications in AI, and I have a podcast
right, I guess
on
at what
AI.
point do you ever feel, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
With something that rapid, when are you ever going to feel?
It's all relative, though.
When are you going to feel ahead?
You're sitting next to a person that literally trademarked AISerious, so.
Facts.
Yeah.
Also facts. All right, Greg, so then my last rapid question for you is, what would you tell Anne to do as her very first step to take with AI after leaving the show?
What I would do, I wasn't prepared for the question, but I'm still going to respond to it. Right. But no, in all seriousness, what I would do is I would lay out, what does my job look like? What am I doing? Like, break up your work week. What are the things that you're doing? And then once you document those things, right, you don't have to give away personal information or anything like that. Once you document those workflows, those processes, the types of things you're doing, you put that in there, run some deep research, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that, but just click on the deep research button if you have the paid version of any of those tools or Enterprise Edition, and then ask it, based on what you know about me now, about what I do, what are some areas of improvement and where I could leverage AI, and which tools should I use? And it will give you back a list, right? It will break down that work week and then how you would do it. Then I would have the conversations like, I really like doing this thing, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of times there may be some busy work, but there's busy work that some people like, right? There's certain portions of it, right? And so that's what I would do. I would ask based on what I do, what are my processes, potentially the industry that I work in. And once you click deep research, it'll give you like 4 or 5 clarifying questions to go even further. And that way it'll start to prompt you and say, hey, what about this? What about that? Do you think about this? You want to know this thing, right? Yeah. Are you trying to make a career change or whatever, is the context? And it will tell you, and it will give you just a well-detailed format. And then you can start to play around. That's where the taste comes back in, because it'll give you 2 or 3 different answers for each tool, right? Or category of tool. So it'll give you 3 different video, 3 different audio, whatever. So.
All right. She's got some homework to do. Now, one of the things that we love to do on this show, which just really shows people how you can use AI in real life, in real time, is a game called Last Chat. And this is where you get to pull up your phone. You get to go into your AI agent of choice, whether it's Gemini, ChatGPT, you name it, we're fine with it, and read us your last chat. But don't be scared, because Greg and I will also be open and vulnerable with you.
I feel like this is like her way of just, showcasing all her personal grievances, because she likes to talk about these things in her chat. So I'm interested to see what hers is.
Okay, well, we talked about this a little before. So if you get the BTS, I don't know if they caught that, but I'm going to cheat a little on this one, because my most recent was probably kind of boring. But not too long ago, I was telling Erica, my daughter Olivia wants to start this pet sitting business. And so I said, well, let's design like a logo. So we go into ChatGPT, we design a little poster, Olivia's pet sitting business. And she's like, well, I don't like that color. I said, well, tell it to make it red. We made it red. Well, I wanted to show a horse too. I said, add a horse. It adds a horse. Next thing you know, we have this logo that has Olivia's pet sitting business with a paw and a horse and all of these things, right? And then she's like, well, I need a flyer to like tell all the neighbors I'm doing this. I'm like, well, tell it to design you a flyer. She's over here 6 years old on my phone, and this business is like off and running, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, that was like 2 minutes probably, right? Like literally a couple minutes of things people used to spend maybe hours on. Maybe not hours, but.
You certainly could spend hours.
Yeah.
And definitely someone that didn't know how to design that.
Yeah. And it was just really cool to see. Like, I think the other thing that I've loved watching her with technology in general is she engages with it like she can't break it, or like she can't do something wrong. Whereas I'm sometimes like, oh, I've never used that app before. What if I push the wrong button? What if I break my whole iPad, whatever. And she just like picks it up, and she's, and she's gentle. She's not like breaking my stuff, but she very much is just like, what does this do? What does that do? What if I tell it that I want to also take care of horses? Like she just has this mind of like, let's explore.
Anything could be possible.
Yes.
Well, I love
so
that.
So I totally deviated from our little segment here.
No, that was great.
It's a great example.
I do I love this idea of like approach the technology like you can't you can't break it. You can't do something wrong. Like, I don't know.
Play.
I was listening to a podcast coming in this morning that Erica put me on. What's the guy, the AI, Michael. I can't think
I
of
almost
his name.
said AI voice or victim, but that's my show.
No. But I'll find it. But the podcast episode was that very point. There was a woman on there talking about vibe coding and creating these mini apps.
Just like try it, right?
But she was saying that she had her own 5 C's, and it was like one of them was courage. And what she was saying was that very point that you just said was, she said, there's this feeling of don't click the button.
Yeah.
She said, just click the button. She's like, you can always fix it, but just click the button. And then last podcast, I had something similar with my daughter, Evie, where she had her, she did her magical museum. She was like, I want everybody to come to my room. I'm doing a magical museum. So I ran down to my computer and I actually I did it on my phone, but then I printed it out. Right. I was like, I created a Evie's magical museum flyer for us to come
2 seconds,
in.
right? Yeah.
And she said to me, she was like, how did you do that? When did you do that? Like, I just told you about this, right? By the time she got upstairs, I'd already made it. So I've given you time. What are you doing?
Oh, I love it. So first of all, the podcast we were referencing is AI Explored with Michael Stelzner.
That is correct.
Incredible listen if you guys want to follow him too. But I had about 16 ChatGPT windows up because my little ADD brain's got 16 tabs open right now. But the most recent one was I have a group coaching call later for my collective called Her Collective, and we're doing an AI strategy session in there. They've already created their agents, and then we're going to play around with it and have a little fun. And so I asked it to come up with about 5 different prompts that we could use inside that could be applicable for any industry, any role, but to build it out more as a template so that I could have that to share and as a starting point. So it gave me some great examples, and I'm going to go through, read through them a little bit later, and then use them in my group coaching call today.
Oh.
Awesome.
This is very legit, very official.
That's right, girl.
I did something similar. So tomorrow I'm teaching a workshop on the art of iteration to 10 founders at the American Underground. And so I'd already put together a deck. I was using ChatGPT, and then I fed some stuff into GenSpark to create a presentation, right? But then afterwards, I was like, all right, I want to make sure I have the right speaking notes. So I loaded up the PDF of the presentation into ChatGPT, and I said, based on the attached deck, I need speaking notes that tie this back to the art of iteration and when to iterate, pivot, or double down per slide and company. Call out what specific signals or examples the founders should be looking out for, whether they be macro or microeconomics, social, market sophistication, et cetera, right? And then it spit out per slide. It broke it down for me. It gave me some speaking notes, some punchy analogies, and some other things. And so when people say to me, and they've sent to me for the last 2 years, I can always tell when someone uses ChatGPT for emails. I'm like, if you believe that's how I'm using these tools, then you are fooling yourself.
Yeah.
There's so much more that you can do.
But what that doesn't replace is your ability to stand in front of that group of people and connect with them and speak to them and educate them. So yes, maybe it saved you, however much time on those talking points and actually designing the deck, right? But what it can never replace, in my opinion, is that ability for you to stand up in front of a room of people, have their attention, which is our most sacred,
gift or something.
Yeah. And be able to deliver a message and connect with people. So
that is 100% the point. Even going back to what you said about the resume, and we said the same thing here internally, right? It's not about using it for the resume. Can you do the things that are on the resume?
Can you show up and do those things you said you could do? Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Time will tell, and that's when you need HR.
But that had nothing to do with AI.
It's called job security.
It's more of an integrity thing.
Right? Yeah. Let's not blame AI for this one.
AI cannot scream for your integrity. Oh my gosh. Well, Ann, thank you so much for joining us, for being a fun non-techie guest, ready to dive in and explore. It was an amazing conversation.
Guest. She just hasn't admitted it yet.
Yeah.
If I could be labeled techie guest, whoo, buddy, I'm onto something.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
All right. Thanks for joining us on AI, Voice or Victim. If you want to stay competitive in the AI age, start now. Take one insight from today's episode and put it into practice in the next 24 hours. Make sure to follow us, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more actionable AI insights. See you next time.